Welcome to the September meeting of ABCD-OpenScholar. I'm just going to open this up. Today we're going to present a few new widgets. Before that, obviously you guys know about how to get help for your OpenScholar sites. And I'll first review what a widget is. A widget is a box of content that can be used to display, and displayed on selected regions of your OpenScholar site, like the sidebar or the footer of your page on your OpenScholar website. There are different widget categories available. So this is a view from your layout. We've got the All tab, as you know, but you can break them down into content, media, social, and miscellaneous to make it easier to find your widgets. So adding widgets to a page is very easy, and we're going to review that through the process, but this is just a link on this document for people who view it after, so we will go over that. But we're going to talk today about the random widget, the more like this widget, and the new Widget Slider widget today. So first we'll start with the random widget. The random widget randomly displays one of your site's pre-selected widgets in a designated spot in your site's layout. A new widget is displayed upon every page refresh. So it's not so random, right? You are selecting the widgets out of a drop-down. And so if I go to this next page on how you find the random widget, you'll see you go to the layout from your control panel, and you're going to select the green Add New Widget button, and it's going to give you the drop-down of all the available widgets that you can create yourself, and one of them is the random widget. So then you create the widget just as you would with any other one. The widget description, you fill that out first. That's going to show up to you in the unused widget gallery, so you can use shorthand for that, and you'll sort of see how Joe and I have done that to make it easy for us to find them. But then you're able to select widgets from a drop-down, and so you can add, I'm sure there's some kind of restriction to how many you could add, but you would add them from this drop-down. I'll review this in a second. You're going to make any kind of changes, optional changes to make it embeddable. There is a CSS class that you could apply to this widget container. That's a new feature, but it goes along with some custom theming we won't get into today, but it's just available for you. And then you would click the Save button. And so as you know, when you go and you create a new widget, it goes into your layout. It's on the top left corner of your unused widget gallery. You're going to click, hold, drag, and drop it into the place that you want. And you can press Save at the bottom to view your results. So I'll pop off here and I will do a live example. And I'm going to go over to this page over here. This is our ABCD OpenScholar demo page. So what I have done is I have pre-created 3 widgets in order to show you this. So I created 3 featured post widgets. So a featured post widget, if I just click into it really quickly, you'll see that I'm able to find a post. So a post of content that lives on your site. So I created 3 of these, pointing to 3 different news posts. So I'm going to go to the Add New Widget bar. Sorry, it's a little jumpy. I'm going to scroll down to the random widget, and I'm going to give it a name, like I might say random widget featured post news. And I think I'm going to put this on the home page, so I might even go further with that. Then next, here I'm able to drop down and see all the widgets that exist on my site. And so here are the 3 I've added for this example. So first I'll start with the first one, and then select Add. And then I'll go to the next one, selecting Add. And then lastly, add this 3rd one. And you'll see that the widget description shows up to me here. And there's this title field within the random widget that is not so clear but you can rename them. So instead of news item 1, you could call it whatever you wanted to call it. But let's just save it and see what it looks like so we can see what would happen if you did not do that. So we'll press save, saving this random widget. And as you know, go to the top left where I can click, hold, and drag and drop it into the place that I desire. And then I'll press save. Now ignore some of these buttons down here. I've got sort of superpowers on OpenScholar, so I have more buttons than the normal user. So right now you'll see that it's randomly displaying item 3. And so if somebody were to sit on this page, it would update based on your browser being cached, right? But if I do a hard refresh, it takes a minute usually. It does work. Well, to prove it, I will pop away and then go back. And there's my news item 1. So if I pop away again and go back to the home page, we'll see it keeps updating. The number 2 will come up eventually, but it's totally random. And you can, if I go here, and we'll see that if I hover over and see my marching ants, you'll see this goes to the post itself, and this goes to the random widget. So if I go to edit widget, I could potentially reorder these, but again, it's very randomized. So I think a good use case for this would be that if you felt like people were continuing to go back to your home page as they were on your site, that might make sense. Joe, can you think of another reason why somebody would want to use a random widget either on their home page or on another site, just to kind of keep that page fresh? Is one way. That's a good point. Yep, that's actually a very good point. And because we got econ in the house today, I know because Claire came to training a little bit ago. I know you guys have a spotlight here, and that's a featured post widget, I believe. And so if you did what I did and created a couple of featured posts, threw it all on a random widget, you could let it, work itself out, unless you really, really wanted to spotlight that one thing. See, visiting faculty, that would be great. Exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of great uses for the random widget. So any questions about the random widget for now? So it's pretty easy. You just have to make sure you have the widgets created prior to adding them to the random widget. A random widget is almost like a display widget, much like the columns widget or the tabs widget. All right, so I'll call Joe. Joe's going to demo the more like this widget.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the more like this widget. More like this widget allows you to display related content within a widget when you're viewing a particular post, whether that be a page, event, news item, link, any post, you can use it. Generally, it's used in the sidebar. Now you've seen on any news media websites, oftentimes when you view a story, you'll see related content either underneath that story or in the sidebar. This is a similar concept. It works on post pages, so if you have an event and you want to show a related event, it works on the event detail page when you click into the event, but not the event listing itself. And what it does is it matches on the keywords in the title, in the post content. You can actually choose which matches you want. And it uses Apache Solr, which is the internal search engine for OpenScholar for websites. You can also have it to match on content type. So you'll have using our events use case, you'll have only other events show up. And you can also have it match on taxonomy terms. And doing this allows you to generate a very specific set of results. And sometimes you might want that rather than just the title and keywords, which will have less control of the results. The options within the widget, and we'll take a look at that widget configuration in a second. When you check the multiple checkboxes that match the options, it will work as an AND clause, not an OR clause. And I can show you what I mean by that in a minute. Yeah, sure. All right, so the way you enable this widget is just like any other widget. You go into the layout of the site in the control panel. You select Add New Widget, and then it's the fourth one down under the Content section. You'll choose more like this widget. So here are the fields that I was talking about. So you can search for this configuration would search for the title. Anything that matched the title, it would render those results. Not the full content, but if I did check this, it would have to match on both the title and the full content. Alternatively, or in addition, I could check taxonomy. And then the related posts, this bottom check mark, is that they need to be the same content type. Just like before, when you create the new widget, it'll appear on the upper left. You drag it to the region that you want. Now, I will say this is generally used in the sidebar, so you can certainly use it underneath the content. In our live example, I'll use it in the right sidebar. We'll do a live example. So So on this site, I have a list of my upcoming events. These are all different kinds of events. I have a taxonomy set up based on the kind of event. If I click into one of these, I'll see in the right-hand sidebar my more like this widget. And it's right here. It's related events. So let's take a look at the configuration here. So what I'm doing here is I'm filtering on taxonomy. My trainings have all been tagged with event type training. And as you can see, it pulled up the other events that were tagged with training by clicking the taxonomy names. Unchecking this will allow you to choose multiple content types that it can pull up, but I have a very specific purpose, so I'm going to keep it as the same content type. Same thing with conferences. If I go back out here, go all the way back. If I click on conference, the more like this widget is going to pull up another conference based on the way that it's tagged. You can see that the C also, this indicates how this post has been tagged. Let's take a quick look at it. So I have an event type taxonomy with this conference. So this is kind of just an abstract use case. Maybe a more realistic use case is if you have your events tagged by seminar series, and someone clicks into one seminar and they want to view the other sessions within that seminar series. Maybe you have your events by topic or research area. If someone clicks into an event, they can see other events related to that topic area. Use cases that I see for not using taxonomy, for just relying on the title and content search, would maybe be news, where you don't need that fine control. You just are offering the viewer some related pieces of news that they might be interested based on the content. Resources is another good one to use this for. If you have resources, let's say you're using link content type to link out to different resources and they've been tagged with a certain area, then this would be a good use case. And you also have control over the amount that it shows. I have it set to 3, but if you know on your site there's going to be a ton of conferences and you want someone to see more of them, you can change that number right there, the results number. I will say that the ordering is the same as if you went to the taxonomy page. It's smart enough to know that if you're viewing events, it's going to show them by event date, just like the taxonomy page will. So I'll show you an example of that real quick. So going back to my training example. These related events here, when I entered these events, they go sequentially in order. So training 2 happens before training 3, training 4. So it uses the same thing if you filtered by the term, it uses smart enough to know to order by event date. Whereas with people, I believe it would order by their last name, just the same as it does with the other views in OpenScholar. So, does anybody have questions about that? Or yeah.
So I have a monthly admin form I use each month, and we like to post materials that are from that meeting, whether they're job days or whether they're coincide. So could I use, even though that's an event, could I go to my resources page, which I have a page with a documentation, and put that on there?
I'm not sure. It depends what your resources are.
Yeah.
The resources themselves need to be posts. So if they're just files, then more like this is not going to work.
Oh, okay.
But I could look at your site specifically and tell you what might work for that.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you say you want to have 3 today, it doesn't mean you're going to have more. You're really that you might be
I don't think so. That might be a good feature request. Yeah. So that's a piece of this that would be a great feature request to have, see all or a pager option. But yeah. Right.
So how does title or body content work? Is it looking for like all training and all one, or all training one? And like
Yeah.
body content, is it searching through every chunk of content? I feel like that is.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and like I say, it uses I believe he uses the same algorithm that the on-site search uses for weighting content, which matches should be prioritized. I don't have the exact answer for that.
I have an
But-
example that I could probably
Yeah.
show from a regular page post type that does like, you know, Joe did the complicated one because Joe is extra good at all this stuff. But if we go to this site, you'll see that there's a more like this related, it's called related research. If we go to edit this widget, you'll see it's a more like this with the title and the content and the taxonomy. I don't think there's any taxonomy on here, so if I were to take it away. And what it's doing is it's relating content, this content is related to this content. So probably what we'll find on there is references to the word academics inside of these pages, references to things like studying and archaeology and students and things like that. It's following the keywords. So if I go into graduate programs, let's just check it out because we don't truly know the algorithm. So here we are, field of study, laboratory and archaeology, Department of Archaeology, right? So it's pulling what it thinks is related because the content within each post matches. So, but you know, I would think you would have to sort of click through the ones that sort of show up and think, is that really related?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's giving a credence to the fact that these pages are within this academic section. That's check development for.
Right.
But it's really just leveraging the way Solar works and using that same kind of search structure to render those results on the side.
So like if I were to go over to people on this site, just to try it out, that's what we like to do, and go to oops, I can't go to layout here, sorry, let me go back. This is the list view, right? The people page is list view, so it wouldn't work. So I have to go into Jennifer Smith, let's say. And note about her that she is a professor of archaeology, and she's got all these things going on. So if I were to go to my layout and try to find that same exact, more like this widget that I created, and it's called something gibberish, I think. There it is. And drag it in. Let's see what happens. So it's pulling in people related to, I'm sure, all of these things.
Yep. And probably the short bio.
Yeah, and probably the short bio. So, kind of cool, right? And these are widgets we don't see. Random widget, more like this widget, we just don't see people using them. For Joe and I, we don't get a lot of questions about them. So we're experts in all the things we get a lot of questions about. So for us doing this presentation, we have to kind of get into it. So we're learning a lot of great things. And I think that the use cases grow and grow. That was a good question. We've now gone down this rabbit hole. Any other questions about that? And I'll hop into the slider widget.
I mean, it's gonna have to do more with, like, there must be some ors in here, right? If you're mentioning title and content and taxonomy,
Well,
even with people, right? How could it be and if, like, the title, maybe the title is not better than name or something.
let's remove the full content. Let's see what happens.
There's
Nothing. So title doesn't work at all, right?
So
Because
then,
the widget doesn't disappear from the layout, but if the widget is blank, it doesn't show, right? So let's go back into it here. And yeah, so the title doesn't do anything. So it's the full content of the post of the body.
Right.
So and doesn't add anything because the title isn't related. So it is anding, but it's not finding anything.
Well, that to me that's an or. That's an or.
Right, yeah, I guess you're right.
So
That's right.
Yeah. So so we'll check the development.
And not to get, I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I think this is great. I mean, this
Yeah.
is really good for, I mean, all news feeds and like, and certainly our blog posts and have related content. I think what.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Any other questions? All right, Bill, thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right. So we'll get into the new slider widget slider. I'm going to keep doing that. It's the widget slider. The widget slider can display custom text HTML widgets in a slideshow-like format. So only custom text HTML widgets, not all kinds of widgets you've created. We know how to do this. Go to the control panel, click on appearance, select the layout. Select the layout link, go and add the new widget, find the widget slider, which is under miscellaneous at this point. Filling out the widget description, and then you'll see here another drop down. But what's great about this drop down is it only shows you the custom text HTML widgets, which makes it easy. You repeat this step for the more slides you want to add, and you can press save, and there are some display options we'll check out in a second. Here they are. You can set the duration of the speed, or the duration they're going to show, the transition speed. You can display a scroll bar or not, and you can set the slider height in pixels, and we'll talk about that during the live example. So we know how to drag a widget into the layout. And here is the live example. So I'm back over to our demo site. And what I've done is I've created 3 custom text HTML widgets already and put them on the site. And so when I go to add new widget from the layout, and I go down to widget slider, I'm going to give it description, and I'm going to call this study tips homepage, so I know where it's going to go. And then here I am selecting out of a drop down, and I only have so many because they're only showing me the custom text HTML widgets. So I'm selecting the 3 study tips and selecting add. And you can see once they're in here, I can reorder them. I've kind of numbered them. And again, like we saw with the random widget, you can't select to have a title show up next to it, so these happen to make sense where the other one didn't. And again, here are display options, and the default, just notice this, it's 400. It just defaulted that way. So when I press save, and here it is, and I'm going to put it in my layout. I'll put it in here, press save, and we're going to start to see what happens. So it's going to slide through, and here are those options to flip. And you see how big it is, because it was set to 400. Now my tips on all these slides, they happen to be almost the same. So that makes it very easy for me to go, all right, I'm going to make a change to this, the height, because I'm dealing with the same height on all 3 widgets. But that's just because I'm lucky or I thought it through or something. So I think the challenge would be to select or create widgets with the same length of content, right? So that like worked perfectly, 150 pixels. So that makes it easy, and then we'll just naturally scroll through, and I can select these to link through them. But, you know, I have an option to remove that display scroll bar. Actually, that should be opposite. This is, when I click on it, it says display scroll bar. It should say. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Okay, we've learned something here. It's a new thing. It's new. Okay. All right, so if I set my scroll bar, or set my height to be 50 pixels, then we'll see the scroll bar. I understand. Display scroll bar will allow you to do the, we'll see it. Thank you, Dorian. Aha, I see my little scroll bar. Oh, nice. So, no, this is not good. Don't do that. Don't do what Bree did. So you cannot remove those little buttons, which is fine. We can add it as a feature request if someone wants to do that or wants to remove them. Okay, questions about the slider widget. So it's kind of cool. It's like our slideshow widget, but for content. Oh yeah, videos. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And so, alternates to using one of these is obviously a tabs widget or an accordion widget. But as you can see, it's going pretty fast. So if I had a video in here, I'd really want to slow it down so somebody could like stop and catch it to press play on that video, right? So content might be the best versus a video, but images would be cool. Okay, what other, do we have questions about this? Yeah.
So the difference between embed media widget and the HTML widget, and one of the differences, I think, that's what this is, custom HTML will strip out last tags, is that right? One of them does that. I can't remember which. I think it's the HTML one that will, not necessarily class tags, but like, I mean, we'll strip out the classes and if I have an H1 tag, let's say, with some classes that are used elsewhere, those will get on the site, they'll get stripped out, so they don't get
The main difference between the custom text HTML and the embed media is only embedding media. You cannot do anything, you can't add any content around it. Write a custom text HTML, you can write an entire paragraph, put a video into it, slap a photo next to it, write some more text, put another video, you can keep growing it. Embed media is like, I'm putting one video in this one box and bringing it in.
you still can put HTML in
You can, but it's designed more of a, let's speak in the,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could be totally wrong. I just remember it.
Custom classes will get stripped out unless they're prefixed with OS dash. Then that's kind of a secret. But the second, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But,
Joe.
the second thing is that if you embed something within a custom HTML widget, when you go to, you cannot edit that object. Unlike an embed media, if you embed like an iframe or something, you can edit that right then and there. Otherwise, you'd have to go to the list of files. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. So I think it depends on the type of user and what you're doing with it. For most people, it's sort of what I said, and for maybe someone more like you, it's what Joe said, right? Because a lot of people aren't doing custom stuff to their files. Sheila. So the slideshow is designed to be more for images. So if I go to the home page of this archaeology site and we open it up, am I even logged into this? Yeah, here I am. 1 second. There it is. So if I edit this widget, you're going to see lots of differences. So it's designed to load up a slide, and you can reorder the slides. So I could change the overlay, but it's designed to house, there we go, an image to have, and then have content, header content, descriptive content, and it links through to content on the site. So this Exploring Egypt page, if I were to click through to it, it could potentially link to a page within this test site. And then when I add a slide here, there's another area to add a slide, you'll see that it wants me to choose a file and you must choose a file, right? You can link it, and this is what I was going to show you guys, the new feature. You can now not drop your link, you can go find your link. It just got released. It was my idea many, many moons ago. I feel really good about it. Oops, I didn't do that the right way. Headline, description, etc., etc. Does that answer your question? Totally different. Okay, any other questions about that? How many questions personal questions do we have on our sites today? 1, 2. All right, I think I have the time to take a little bit of a whirl through some of the features because they're just so great. I just feel like I must do it. All right, the first thing that happened, not the first thing, many things happened, many changes happened, but the responsive design of the sites got better. So the desktop view is the same, right? See everything, which is great. But if we look at the tablet view, there hadn't been a really good way to show the secondary or the primary menu drop-downs, and now there is. So if you watch this video, once I click here, it will allow you to see the drop-down links. And then also you can get to the secondary navigation, secondary menu. And the same thing happened on the handheld where, let me catch up for a second, when you go here, you can also get to the drop-downs because that's something that wasn't possible. So yay, that happened. Okay, next we've got the slideshow widget. I just showed you that. So you can navigate to a post on your page versus having opening up a new window, going to a page, clipping that link, bringing it back. You can now use it as a database lookup like you do for people when you're syncing them or adding members to a site. So that's great. Love that. Next we've got managing files and images, more operations. So, sorry, let this catch up. The operations drop-down allows you to make changes to multiple files at once. So before, you could add taxonomy and delete items and remove taxonomy items to posts, you know, in the Find Post area. Now you can do that in files, in the files repo. So if I open up my control panel, go to site content just to show you what I'm talking about, and I went to browse, and I go to content, we've always had this ability to, you know, select multiple pages and do a batch operation like this, right? But when we went to files, there wasn't anything. You had to manually go through, but now you can do most of the same things. So you can apply taxonomy terms to files or photos, those kind of things. Yay! Get it in community, Joe. All right, next we've got unpublishing pages. What is this about? Even I forget. What's happening here? What did I want to show you guys? What did I want to show you? Oh, yeah, okay. So it used to be that you could have all kinds of unpublished content on your site. And that's all fine and well, except for you then couldn't figure out what was unpublished. And so it's not the perfect situation right now, but like there's no way in here, the proposed was to have a type called unpublished where you could then select apply like you could with these types. But you can now click here on published, and it will push your unpublished content to the type to the top, so then you can know what you can then go and need to turn on or edit, something like that. Yay! Oh, I know you're really excited. Okay, and next we've got, I'm just going to wait till it loads. I can't even guess at this point. Oh, email alerts. So now when you add someone to a site, they get alerted. So it used to be that when you created when you had an OpenScholar site and you added a new member, the new member got an alert because they needed to create a password. But then I could add 4 people who already had OpenScholar accounts, and they would have no idea. And you'd have to sort of tell them. Now the system alerts that person and says, hey, so-and-so has added you to a site. There's kind of some funniness, because then if you add someone to a site and then immediately change their role, they immediately get another email. So it's a new feature, we're still working it out, but it's great because I think people were not so clear about having to go into their OpenScholar site, go here, go to my sites, and sort of go, okay, I've been added to sites, I didn't know, how would I know? So now people know. Yay! All right, and lastly, and then we'll get to questions. Page settings. We've got some cool new page settings, and I just built this great new page today. So you are now able to prevent pages from showing up in search results within the publishing options on the side of your page. URL path settings are the same, and then a couple releases ago we had the ability to see more data about who is editing your post. So you can see that I created the post on, well, today, right? But then I went back and I edited it again, also today, but at least it's showing me. So site owners and site admins have this view now to see who made changes to their page last, because that was a big request of being able to, who made this change, I want to know, or when did this change happen? So now we've got a view into that. Yay! It's on the page, and I'll show a bigger view of it. So when you are on, and I'll just go up one level, I'm going to mix it with this page. So when you go to your large gray configuration gear and you select edit, on the side there are all these editing options. So it depends on which one you click on, right? So publishing options. So that was the breakdown of this page. So this page will be linked probably by tomorrow to the different settings. So we have even more settings now. So those are the coolest things I thought. All right, so let's get into general questions. I'll stop the recording, and I did just let you know we have scheduled all of these meetings out through next May. So go to the ABCD OpenScholar website and